Darkstalker is perhaps one of the most adored Wings of Fire characters. To say he's beloved in the fandom would be an understatement. I'd bet that at least 1/3 of all finished maps have him as the main character, and a lot more of them have him on the side. Such a beloved character would not come without their controversies, and with Darkstalker, that controversy is Peacemaker and how he became Peacemaker. But beyond personal opinion is the text, and in the text it is also controversial. Today, we will assess whether Darkstalker becoming Peacemaker was moral according to the text itself. Before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. In addition, it is currently Darkstalker December. That means every week I post one or more videos solely dedicated to Darkstalker so I don't get video requests on him for the rest of the year. So stick around if that sounds fun. Without further ado, let's talk about the themes in the second arc and how they apply to the Darkstalker Peacemaker situation. The second arc focused on identity and what it means in a post-war world. Sora and Icicle are two identities that conflict with each other directly because of the war. Sora is someone traumatized in part by Icicle's actions in killing her sister, whilst Icicle is a dragon shaped by the war, and taught that she needed to rise among the Icewing ranks by killing other dragons. Sora tries to take revenge on Icicle, whilst Icicle tries to kill the dragonets of destiny, including Sora's brother Clay, in order to regain her own brother. Together, the two have a dark dance of vengeance, in which neither of them come out on top. Winter, Icicle's brother, also struggles with who he is. He is a former soldier, now going to school with the dragons he used to fight. He has a crush on a Nightwing, whom his culture has told him he has to hate. He leaves his tribe behind, assumed dead, but in the end is pushed back to them after his new friends leave him up to dry. However, after all that, he gains independence and now lives in Sanctuary away from the rest of his tribe, at least until book 14 when he was invited back by Queen Snowfall. Peril is a Skywing who's been kicked out of her kingdom. She spent most of her life as Queen Scarlet's champion, and then tailing after Clay, who is her moral compass, and defines herself by other dragons. However, in the end, she concludes that she's her own dragon and makes her own choices. With identity, though, comes change. However, the arc makes it very clear that that should not be forced. Hailstorm, Winter's brother, was forced to become Pyrite, a Skywing, as a political prisoner. This interacted with his identity and sense of self. Even when the Pyrite mask was removed and he was an Icewing, he still felt like a Skywing and trapped in Pyrite's identity for a time. Peril has an Animus enchanted change as well. However, hers is welcome, at least at first. When she accepts the enchantment, it is under the terms that it will remove her fire scales. Unbeknownst to her though, the enchantment also makes her loyal to Queen Scarlet and forget about Clay. Only with Ruby's help does she realize what is happening. And Ruby herself is a dragon who was unwillingly changed by Animus magic. She was originally Tourmaline, but was getting too rebellious under that identity, so Scarlet changed her to be more complacent and weak. Peril is able to help Ruby in this instance and helps her break the magic so she can win her duel against Scarlet. In this instance, Ruby decides to keep her enchanted form and not become Tourmaline because she has grown up to be Ruby. As Ruby, she has a dragonet and is queen of the Skywings, and she doesn't want to throw that away. There's also Anemone. Anemone is Turtle's sister, and he enchanted her using Animus magic to become an Animus because he didn't want his mother to turn too much attention onto him. This causes her to grow up being spoiled, and has dramatic consequences for the rest of her life. Lastly, there's Vulture. Vulture is a dragon of true evil. He abused his grandchildren, and even turned his own daughter into an assassin. He plotted terrorist attacks, and yet, when he is also turned unwillingly into something, this time a dragonet, at least mentally, we are horrified. Second chances arise from change, and second chances also serve the pivotal role in the second arc. Jade Mountain Academy was built on second chances. It was a second chance to dragonets who grew up in the war and didn't receive much education or stability. Webbs was given a second chance to teach after he kidnapped the dragonets. Smolder and Blaze are given a second chance at palace life after being on opposing sides of the war. Peril, who murdered hundreds of dragons in the arena, gets a second chance. Her father, Chameleon, also gets one, and he gets to keep his shape-changing spells initially. However, in Darkness of Dragons, that second chance is taken away after he's found still abusing his power. Darkstalker connects all the themes together. He has a conflicting identity. He is both an Icewing and a Nightwing, two tribes who hate each other and have never come to terms with that. Darkstalker is an instrument of change. He changes other dragons to suit his needs numerous times, with Indigo, Clearsight, Arctic, and Fierceteeth being direct examples, whilst the entire continent of Period was indirectly impacted. In the end, he too is forcefully changed and becomes Peacemaker. He is given a second chance 2 times, once when he emerged from the mountain and the second time when he becomes Peacemaker. However, was it consistent with the rest of the arc's morals for him to become Peacemaker? After all, a part of the arc is changing one's identity cannot be forced. Darkstalker's identity in Ice Nightwing with Animus powers and other powers is almost entirely wiped away. His half-tribeness remains in spirit though. Just like how the Icewings and Nightwings had a conflict, the Raywings and Nightwings had a conflict, just it was a lot more one-sided. But done with semantics, he was forcefully changed. However, he had done it many times to other dragons. His turning into Peacemaker is an act of dramatic irony. After all this time altering other dragons, it was his own magic that made sure he would be permanently sealed away and another dragon. Plus, this 4th second chance was after a long line of second chances already. Clearsight was constantly trying to wrestle for a better future with him, and in his darkest hours stood by him. Then he emerges from the mountains and immediately decides to manipulate the dragons around him and kill off the Icewings. Just before he becomes Peacemaker, he was offered to become a dragonette on his own accord, and he refused it. However, he never would have accepted that anyways. My Darkstalker December video from last year, why Darkstalker refuses Strawberry, goes over that. And so for the good of other dragons who may in the future become changed, Darkstalker had to be changed. It's simply the lesser of the evils. Was his becoming a dragonette the right way to end things though? There's a small chance that Darkstalker could return. Plus, they could have depowered him and made him deal with his crimes. They even could have killed him. However, we have to remember that every other dragon in Period believes that Darkstalker is dead or sealed away anyways, so Peacemaker's existence does no harm. His existence actually benefits more dragons. It creates a second chance for Foeslayer to raise the dragonettes, this time without a war going on. Plus, Peacemaker makes the Strawberry Festival and will eventually have dragonettes of his own. There's been a character who's consistently popped up in the script, Peril. And if you really think about it, Peril and Darkstalker are very similar characters. Both of them were simultaneously admired and shunned for aspects about them. Peril fire scales and Darkstalker's Ice Nightwing heritage. Both of them grew up with parental figures who didn't care about them and used them for their powers. Others used Animus magic on them without their consent, and both of them killed or at least helped with the death of their abusive parents. They had a romantic partner who supported them despite everything they did, until the very end in Darkstalker's case. However, Darkstalker started off good and Peril started off evil. In the middle of our arcs, both of their romantic partners supported them, and both of the characters struggled. Peril temporarily returned to Scarlet because of the guilt tripping, however she never outright killed anyone. Darkstalker, on the other hand, just became worse and hid his actions from Clearsight, such as the Icewing killing knife. After being freed, Darkstalker has a blank slate, but he doesn't take advantage of that, and he keeps his grudges and murders other dragons. Peril, on the other hand, didn't ever have a point that dark. She was forced to forget the dragon who caused her to change, and still was relatively good, kidnapping dragonettes aside, and then by the end of when we see her, she's fully adapted to not murdering other dragons and has her aggressions under control. She's now able to use her fire skills to help other dragons and not hurt, unlike Darkstalker who started with helping through spells like the Scavenger Doll spell, which gradually morphed into darker things. The difference between them was that Peril made the choice to change, whilst Darkstalker continued to bury himself into a deeper hole, even when he was given all the chances in the world to change. Even when confronted with his own words and actions through the Soul Reader spell calling out his soul color, he still refuses to change. But back to the main point of the video. Was what happened to Darkstalker consistent with the morals of the arc? Well, I certainly think so, but take my opinion with a grain of salt. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who've already subscribed, thank you for continued support. I would have gone here without y'all. Peace out.